I introduced Tugay Sarac already, so I will start with my first question. You work at the contact point of Islam and diversity. Can you please talk us through your experience concerning queerphobia towards Muslims in Germany, as well as queerphobia within the Muslim community in Germany?
Yes, thank you first of all for inviting me, and thank you all for watching this really important movie. I'm still very emotional. The things you saw in this movie, it's not a Hollywood movie, this is reality. Everything that happened in that school is something that is happening every day in German schools as well. The most important things we do at the contact point are talking to queer Muslims and ex-Muslims, trying to support them so they don't feel alone. Monia was very lucky that she had such a great teacher. Many people do not have a person to talk to, so we try to be there to talk to them, to show them they are not the only queer Muslims or ex-Muslims in the world, but they have a community they can interact with. And the other thing we do are workshops in schools, and we always meet students. Of course, it's not all of them, but not all Muslim students are queerphobic or that extreme. But whenever we are in schools, I go there with a headache, and I don't feel very well in my guts when I go there, because it's always going to be aggressive. This topic is so it makes people very emotional, and it is, I think, the situation is catastrophic, we could say, definitely. Not just in the Muslim community, we see this in other communities as well, but I can only speak for the Muslim community, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. You already raised a little bit about it, but maybe we deepen this discourse. So what kind of discourse is necessary within politics and society to prevent incidents shown in the movie? How can queer Muslims be better protected?
Yeah, that it would be something that our government would have to do or be ready to do. Our Frau Faeser, our Minister for the Interior, promised when she got into that position that liberal Muslims are going to be heard from now on in this liberal government. I was invited to the Deutsche Islam Conference a couple of times, 3 times, and I was never able to raise this point, Islam and queerness in the Muslim community, queerness in the Muslim communities. And whenever I tried to do that, all these big Muslim organizations like Zentralrat der Muslime, IGMG, and all these organizations, you could see them getting very aggressive with me. Whenever the media wasn't there, they were aggressive with me. And they wanted to raise a point, intolerance inside the Muslim communities. The ministry wanted to raise that point. And that's when I thought, great, now we can talk about queerness. But they got so aggressive, and they said it is disrespectful by the ministry to want to raise that point, that in the end, even though I tried, the ministry cancelled that point and turned it into anti-Muslim racism. And this is just pathetic. Pathetic by these organizations, but also by our government. And what we all have to do and have to try is to keep raising this point, not just in the ministries, but also on a local and state level with politicians, because many times they are scared to raise that point, and they're being threatened as well. Whenever I try to raise that point in Berlin-Mitte as well, with the mayor of Berlin-Mitte, she's very supportive, but the other organizations are trying. I'm not going to tell you which ones. If you come to me later, we can talk about it. Trying to intimidate me openly. And this is awful, yeah. And yeah.
So thank you very much for your experience. Maybe I also open up the floor for you. So is there anybody already who wants to ask something? Okay, we will give you a microphone that everybody can understand you.
Thank you very much. My question is, are you afraid if these kinds of homophobia is shown, that it will raise anti-racism, racism towards the Muslim community in general, because it will be easy for like a maybe Christian majority in the country to say, those are the homophobic people here, and like pinpointing the problem down to one community. How would you handle that? Or is that a problem that you're facing? Thank you.
Yeah, I hear that concern many times, and of course you saw it with anti-Semitism, for example. Right-wing politicians say, "Oh, look, these are the anti-Semites," even though they are anti-Semites themselves. But yeah, there is a problem, but we cannot let that stop us from talking about it, because the only way we can make this better is by talking about it. I keep trying to talk about it inside Muslim circles, not just between us or in the media. I try to meet them, but they don't take my invitations or our invitations to meet up with us. They don't want to talk about these topics, and that is why we have to push this topic into the media, into pop culture, into the political discourse, so that people finally start talking about queerness and Islam. And we've been doing this work since 2017, and we see there is a change of discourse. Now it's not anymore, no, queerness, homosexuality doesn't exist in our community. Now the organizations, even the biggest ones, are starting to talk about it. They say it's haram, they say, oh, no, we don't want to talk about it, but in the end, they have to talk about it, and I think that is something good. But no, I'm not, in the end, I'm not scared to, everyone is going, no. Many people say this is Wasser in den Mühlen der AfD, water in the mills of the AfD. I don't know if you say that in English. But we can't let that stop us.
Anybody else? I see you in the back with the white. Sehr laut, okay.
Ich würde gern zu dem Film was sagen. Ich fand ihn ganz fantastisch, ganz toll. Haben Sie das Drehbuch? Sie verstehen Deutsch, oder? Sie leben hier.
Ja.
Sonst würde ich Französisch sprechen, aber Englisch geht nicht so gut. Haben Sie auch das Drehbuch geschrieben?
Nein, ich habe nichts mit dem Film zu tun.
Ach so, Entschuldigung.
I didn't make the movie. No.
Ich dachte, Sie hätten den Film jetzt
Nein.
Weil ich eine Frage zu dem Drehbuch hätte. Und weil Sie sagen, ja gut, aber dann bringt das jetzt hier nichts.
Tut mir leid. Genau.
Aber ich möchte doch sagen, dass mich das Ende schockiert hat, weil ich noch nie gehört habe, so fanatisch wie die Frau ist, die, deren Namen ich jetzt nicht weiß, die ist ja von Anfang an so dargestellt. Ich würde sagen, es ist womöglich eine verkappte Lesbe. Ja? Also ich fand das Drehbuch ganz, ganz toll, die Realisation des Films auch. Aber warum sie jetzt die Frau ermordet, ich habe die Lehrerin ermordet, ich habe davon noch nie gehört, weil sie sagen, das passiert täglich. Darauf möchte ich nur hinweisen. Das hat mich jetzt, das kann man machen, aber es entspricht nicht der Realität, denn ich höre von Messermorden und Messerattacken immer durch Männer.
Genau, nein, also was ich nicht sagen wollte, ist, dass täglich so ein Mord passiert. Auf gar keinen Fall. Es passiert täglich, dass man überforderte Lehrkräfte hat, die uns verzweifelt anschreiben und uns anrufen. Und diese Aggression kommt tatsächlich in den Schulklassen. Ich treffe viele Schulklassen, nicht nur von Jungs, sondern auch massiv von Mädchen in den Klassen, die sehr radikalisiert sind. Ich kann nichts dazu sagen, wie oft es da zu Messerattacken von Mädchen kommt, das weiß ich nicht. Aber die Aggression und das Potenzial ist auch bei Mädchen da. Und genau, vielleicht.
völlig klar, aber sie bringt sie ja um.
Ja, aber das ist dann.
Okay, I think you switched from German to English and everything is okay. You can raise your questions in German as well. So we both understand German and English, but I know we have some English-speaking audience too. So to summarize a little bit, you said the teachers are overwhelmed. There is a lot of aggression in the class, and maybe I also mentioned Samuel Paty, who a teacher in France who was killed by an Islamist because the extremist, thought that he taught inappropriate haram stuff in school and influenced his son, and this was his death penalty. So we know that things like what happened to AMAl happened in France 2020, for example. I look at you. Are there any questions left? Maybe with a microphone. We have one. Please wait a second.
Ja, mein Englisch ist auch nicht so gut, deswegen frage ich mal auf Deutsch. Das ist doch ein belgischer Film, oder?
Ja.
Ist das nach wahren Begebenheiten oder ist das ein eher rein fiktionales Drehbuch?
Ich übersetze kurz. So the question was if this was fictional or if it's based on reality. Ich kann zum Film selbst leider nichts sagen, sondern nur inhaltlich. Unfortunately, I can't say anything about the movie itself, just about the topic. Sorry.
The lady with the red pullover, and then I saw also your question. And unfortunately, then we will stop because we have to leave really sharp at 8:30.
Thank you for the discussion. My question is, what can we do individually, especially if we have connections with the Arab or the Muslim community? How can we support Muslim queer?
Thank you for the question. How you can support queer Muslims is by being visibly supportive, and this means a lot. Like talking about the topic means a lot. Giving people who might be queer Muslims the right literature to read and showing them that they are not bad people. This is the first thing. If it comes to people who have problems with their identity, and the other thing is connecting them with other queer Muslims and queer Muslim organizations. We started the contact point, Anlaufstelle Islam and Diversity, contact point Islam and Diversity, in our liberal mosque here in Berlin, the Ibn Rushd Mosque. And if you connect them to us, we are very happy to help them in any way we can. We have lawyers, we have trained staff to give pastoral care, for example. Doing this would mean a lot, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one last question. Anna? Oh.
Thanks. I wonder what the situation is in German schools. Like, I know that there are some religious classes, but I don't know to what extent.
Now I have you with microphone. Yeah. My experience is I grew up in Berlin. I went to school in Berlin, and I myself was a Salafist Muslim back then. And I know that my influence in that school was very strong. And what happens is that there are usually, what my experience is, per class, 2 or 3 young, very strongly religious Muslims in that group. And what happens when we go there for a workshop is that these 2 or 3 students are going to be very aggressive, taking over the workshop, and other kids either go with the flow and get aggressive themselves, or they stay completely silent. I do not have numbers on how religious Muslims are, and I do not have numbers on how many Muslims are ultra-conservative. From my experience, I can say that they are more conservative than the general population when it comes to religious their views on religion. But as I said, this is from my experience and no scientific numbers.
Okay, I thank you very much. There's one last question because I forget that we have our sponsor in the room today. Jasmin war dabei. Schirmherrin. Ambassador. Sorry for using the wrong word.
Do we have the same situation in Germany, like it was said in the movie, in Belgium, that the religion teacher is not nominated by the school, but by the mosque, by the... Also der wird abgesandt, der Lehrer, und nobody's allowed to control what he's teaching the kids. Do we have the same situation in Germany?
We don't have that same situation in the entirety of Germany. Education is a state thing. We have the issue that, for example, in NRW, conservative communities like DTIP have the influence on what is being taught in these schools. And I do not know if the schools don't have any power to remove these teachers from the schools, but I know that there are issues. For example, there is this Islam Kolleg, Osnabrück, and these imams are going to be teachers in schools as well. And one of these guys that finished the class there was being watched by the Verfassungsschutz for the entire time that he was studying there. So there is not really, it doesn't seem that there's really a clear, how do you say, I'm going to say it in German quickly. Es gibt keine ordentliche Kontrolle, wer ausgebildet wird und wie am Ende
in NRW.
In NRW.
Aber in Berlin vielleicht. Also weil das ist the jumping point. Also der springende Punkt. Ne?
We don't have we don't have Islamic religious classes in Berlin yet. Luckily, I hope it stays that way. But I'm not just talking about Islamic religious classes in school. I think that religious classes in general should be all put together and taught in, like, ethic, for example. Because the issue is that scholars, Christian, Jewish, Muslim scholars are going to schools with, how do you say, bekenntnisorientierter Religionsunterricht. So they're teaching the religion as if it is a fact, and this can't be happening in schools because our schools should be very, very neutral.
Alle Religionen entsenden, die Kirche entsendet die Religionslehrer und Rinnen. Auch katholisch und evangelisch.
Okay, thank you very much. I have to play the double advocate and say thank you very much for watching, but now please go. We will hear for you if you have a question in the hallway, but unfortunately we have to leave because the next movie will start soon.